Attention Northwest Arkansas businesses and talent seekers. Introducing OnboardNWA.com, your hyperlocal job board crafted for our unique community. Struggling to find the perfect match for your job openings? Onboard NWA simplifies the hiring process, connecting you with the region's top talent through tailored talent matching solutions. Whether you're an employer seeking expertise or a professional looking for your next opportunity, Onboard NWA is here for you. Discover more at onboardnwa.com, and let's build the future of Northwest Arkansas together.
Support for this episode comes from Bike NWA. Did you know that May is National Bike Month? Celebrate alongside Bike NWA as they host weekly and overall challenges throughout the month of May. It's easy to participate, free to sign up, and is for all skills and abilities. Visit love2ride.net/NW-Arkansas today and start logging your rides to win cool prizes.
Hey, this is Gary Head at Signature Bank of Arkansas. We founded Signature Bank in 2005 with local ownership to serve our communities with the best bankers with the most authority to do business. We have succeeded in growing our bank to over $800 million in assets, including $50 million in growth in the first quarter in 21. We have 155 teammates that love our communities and the customers that we serve. We are always here to serve and eager to do so. As Chairman and CEO, I welcome your call to have the opportunity to serve you. Please call 479-684-4700 or online at signature.bank and tell them that you heard about us at I Am Northwest Arkansas.
It's time for another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas, the podcast covering the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in general here in the Ozarks. Whether you are considering a move to this area or trying to learn more about the place you call home, we've got something special for you. Here's our host, Randy Wilburn.
Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn. I'm excited to be with you today. I'm here with Jake Lewis from Woodworx Workshop. He has a workshop here right on the Johnson Fayetteville line. I'm looking out at the Greenway here and a lot of bikers out on the day that we're recording this. It's actually 1 week after we had our snowpocalypse in Northwest Arkansas, where everything kind of shut down for 1 week because it was freezing cold and there was snow everywhere. And as I look out right now, there's no snow and there's a bunch of people riding their bikes with shorts on and it's like 72 degrees. So go figure, I'm not going to complain. Anyway, Jake was kind enough to connect with me. And as we always say on the I Am Northwest Arkansas podcast, whenever we have somebody on the show, they invariably say, oh, you know who you should talk to? Or you should have this person on the podcast. And so we always take that advice. And we had Shelly Mober on the podcast. She's an outstanding artist. She's become a good friend. She, along with Kenya Christian and so many other local artists, have really been nice to me as a podcaster and introduced me to a lot of creative people in Northwest Arkansas. And so Jake is one of those creative individuals that I now know. And we decided, it would be good to have a podcast episode, talk a little bit about what he's doing, his inspiration. I got to tell you folks, his woodwork, his creativity is off the charts. You just have to see it for yourself. I'll be sure to put some stuff in the show notes so that you can go to his Instagram page, check him out. I believe he also has a Facebook page and some other stuff, but I will certainly make sure that you see some of his artwork and it will be represented on the show notes. But without further ado, Jake Lewis from Woodworx Workshop. It's almost like how many woodchucks would a woodchuck?
Sure.
So
until you say it 1,000 times
exactly.
and then it rolls off your tongue. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all good. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Just like you said, enjoying the weather today. it's a beautiful day in NWA for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, man, I'd love to just get started. We always jump into just getting an individual superhero origin story. So how did you, I know you moved here a couple of years before I did, but how did you, tell us a little bit about how you became Jake Lewis?
Well, it's only an hour-long show, right? No, I was living in Austin, and at the time, the girlfriend I was with at the time was also crafty, and we thought, by the way, I'd never built anything at that time, but we thought, let's figure out something we could do together. And we would collecting materials, and I started making furniture out of reclaimed, pieces of wood. And I realized, well, these little castaways, these tiny bits were cool too, and maybe that I could shift and do a little more art-related pieces with these little fragments that are also 100 years old, or these bright flashes of color. And that's really how it started. And that situation ended at Austin. And I was looking, hey, where I'm going to move. I finally found my passion for doing this at 30 plus years old. And I realized that Fayetteville would be a really good place to do it. Great social scene. I knew that from just being back and forth here over the years. And little did I know how much people rep art and people rep local really, really hard here. And that's one of the reasons that I'm still here. Two of the reasons I'm still here. So
yeah, I love that. So, and that's funny. You came from one funky town to another, and that's why they say keep Fayetteville funky, right? You think about that. And Austin's a really cool town. It's like, I always say that if I were to ever live in Texas, Austin would probably be the only place that I would live. And it's just wired differently. Yes, it is the state capital, but it's different. You know that. Yeah. So you've been there. I like San Antonio. Dallas is cool. Fort Worth is cool, but Austin is special. I completely
agree. I lived in Dallas for like 7 years. I went to college there.
Okay.
And same as you though. If I were made to live in Texas ever again, it would definitely be Austin. For
okay. Sure. All right. That's cool. So I got to understand this because folks, for those of you that are listening to this, and of course I try to create a vision in the mind as I do a podcast, but I'm looking at a bandsaw sander. I'm looking at all kinds of equipment around me. Is this stuff that as you started and embarked upon this profession, is this stuff that you learned later, or did you did you grow up like with a dad or a grandfather that kind of, taught you some of the tools of the trade?
Basic tool mastery, I guess, sure, but nothing like power tools or anything like that. That all really just kind of came by necessity. Well, I want to create this finished product. Okay, well, then maybe I should get a bandsaw and figure out how to use that. And this bandsaw, actually, since you mentioned it, it was made in 1951, and I bought it at Potter House Thrift Store about 3 years ago. And I mean, it hums. You click it on, probably sounds as beautiful as it did the day it was born. I mean, I knew that it was probably from the 60s or something, but I was looking for some spare parts once. And sure enough, looking at the serial number, it starts with 51, and Googled it, and that's what it indicated. So
wow,
pretty freaking sweet right there.
That is sweet. And it looks like it could go another 50 years.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, but not really.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So really then I guess the artistic bug bit you, just several years ago when you got fully involved in it. And then, what was it that really clicked for you where you were like, actually, I can make a career out of this. This is something that I'm passionate about. And it looks like, just from the looks of this shop, which reminds me a lot of my father was an artist. He had an art gallery. He was an avid painter, well known, well recognized in the New York, New Jersey area as an artist and as a sculptor. And this reminds me a lot, just the smell of it reminds me of his workshop. But what kind of, for you, really connected the dots from when you were like, hey, this is just a hobby, to, nah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to spend my time doing it?
It's fair. Well, I guess even back in college, I was the kind of guy that was braiding hemp necklaces and whatnot. And so I always kind of had an eye for, and then framing t-shirts and turning things and recycling and reclaiming, like always looking at something and thinking of a second use for it. And so along the way, especially it sped up when I was in Austin, and I thought, wow, this is something that I could do forever. And part of it is the recycle aspect. It's keeping things out of the trash. Mm-hmm. And it's not just a shtick. I think that that's really cool to take, here's an old piano. I'll break this down and, use a little bit for this and a little bit for that. And I think that part's really exciting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, and there's this whole reclaimed movement now, right? Where people are, reclaiming stuff and using it differently. I mean, I know a buddy of mine that works at Food Loops. He's now reclaiming lumber from sites and using it, repurposing it and using it so it doesn't go in the garbage.
Exactly. All this wood is it could be from construction recycle scrap, or it could be a broken table that I bought at Potter House, on the cheap. And that is part of it, is that if there's an ethos to Woodworx, it is, I don't want to see things being just thrown away. There's all kinds of different places in the world where they would see what we put in the dumpster and like, are you kidding me right now? And I wish it was more like that here. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of people say, oh, do you use a lot of pallets? And the answer is no, because square plumb wood is available here, like everywhere.
Right.
And so I just think that we should pay more attention to that while we have the ability to pay attention to it, you know.
Now, do people come to you and say, "Hey, we need to get rid of this wood, but we'd like you to make something with it for us"? Does that happen?
Absolutely. A lot of times people bring me a treasure trove of wood, and as not even a payment, because it's not even like that. It's just a mutual appreciation. Yeah, I'm happy to make something out of that. Like specifically, this was cool. I had a friend bring me an old end table of her grandmother's, and sure, it could have been possibly shorn up and made where it was still an end table, but she said, can you make me a giant Oklahoma piece out of it? And so just to take one, I make plenty of state pieces and all these different pieces with a piece from this, a piece from that, but to take one item and turn it into a completely new item, only using that was a fun challenge. And it allowed that end table that was 100, 120 years to live on in this person's life.
Oh, man.
That's really cool. Not even, you didn't ask this, but one of the unintended consequences or byproducts of doing Woodworx became being a little part of people's stories.
Yeah.
And making people happy. I know maybe that sounds, well, of course you're going to make people happy. I mean, no one's upset to give me money for something that they're going to enjoy or give to someone that they love. And it's a really positive game that I'm in. And that keeps me doing it too. That's
Right.
one of the reasons that I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this, a living. Like this makes me happy to make other people happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so as a creator, right? And I don't use that word loosely because I think we're all creators in our own right in different ways. I create doing podcasts. This is my wood shop right here with this. I've got a Zoom H6 digital recorder. We've got a couple of mics set up and the whole 9 yards. So this is my creative studio, but I'm within your creative studio. So what does the whole idea of being a creator mean to you?
That's a pretty epic question. And in a way, most people are creators in the day. Let's say you wake up, you see a problem, even if it's a minor problem, and you're able to fix it and it makes your day better. I mean, you've potentially created something by doing that. For me, it feels really awesome to take raw materials or whatever, and use my hands and create a finished product that someone then, not to say it crudely, pays me, but like, this is how I eat. So like, it feels good to be in charge of my own destiny and to be able to take my own hands, my own creations, and to sustain myself.
Right.
And like, that's me creating my existence. So in that way, like, I think that's powerful to be able to do that.
Sure. And I think I like what you said earlier before we started recording. I was asking you about, I said, in the uniqueness of the way that wood is and the work that you do, I don't see any two pieces that are identical or exactly alike. I see some similarities in things, but there are no two that are, I see several iterations of the outline of the state of Arkansas,
right.
But there are no two that are the same. And I'm just curious. So it's not like, and we kind of joked about the fact that, you can go to Hobby Lobby and if I buy something and my neighbor gets the same thing, we both have it at the house.
Right.
But if somebody comes to you and gets a piece of artwork, the chances of them seeing it on somebody else's wall is almost few.
Absolutely. I mean,
almost
it could be,
nil.
Some similarities. And let's say in particular, if I do a razorback, I typically put a knot in where the eye goes and put like a little back leg. But like, it would be a million times more difficult to duplicate exactly a piece I've already made than to not. And so one, it'd be really hard, but two, that's part of the uniqueness of it for sure. So
yeah.
And I like that. And it's, if anyone has seen my work, and a lot of it, the 3D pieces are the tiled pieces of wood. I mean, it's not just slapped on there. Like I'd probably spend too long figuring out what piece goes next to this other piece. And, I could just distress that a little bit more. And like, so it's, they're all different and it makes me crazy, but it's a good crazy, I guess. So.
Yeah, no, I love that. So where can people, so when I share this on the show notes and let people see your artwork, where can people find your artwork that, outside of coming here?
Right.
Because and I would encourage people, whenever you have open hours and people can come and be socially distant to come check out Jake and what he's doing here. But outside of coming here, where else can they find your artwork?
Absolutely. Well, locally in Fayetteville, I've got pieces at the Handmade Market, which is by where the old O&F was. I've got in Bentonville Mercantile and Happy State Co. Bobby and Summer up there running those. I've got a place called the Velvet Otter in Eureka Springs, out kind of on the way to Holiday Island. A really, really beautiful overlook there. I've got some pieces in Kingston Arts, which is in Kingston, Arkansas, kind of out by the Buffalo and out by the rivers. And in Little Rock, I've got Full Moon, which is on Kavanaugh. I hate to leave anybody out. I've also got some pieces at Mid Eclectic Mall, or Mid in Springdale.
Okay.
At my friend Tracy's Fine Line Design.
Okay.
Fine Line Designs booth.
Okay.
So I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I try to be out there, man.
Right.
I try to be.
And be everywhere that you can
That's
be,
right.
which is cool. And so in addition to those places, if I want to, or anybody, they could come and have you commission you
Sure.
to do work. Is that what percentage of your business is commissioned work versus just you creating and putting it out there?
Last year and this year, it's a lot more commission percentage versus stores. And I think that that's a testament to the fact that stores really weren't fully open for several months there. And I really had to change the percentages of my revenue streams, if you will. And so I think I saw a lot more people coming directly to me commissioning pieces. And that's trickled over even into January and February, as some people that may even be listening to this are like, oh yeah, that's why it's not done yet. But I'm thankful and fortunate to have been busy through this whole time. And
Really?
I don't take that for granted. I really, really don't. That's an important takeaway from this. But yes, I am still really busy and I'm loving it. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you really haven't missed a beat then.
No.
Yeah.
I never got any stimulus checks or anything, but that's a different podcast perhaps. But,
well, maybe I can put you in touch with some people that can help you with that.
Right.
Cause, that might be it. But yeah, no, I love hearing that. So what are your plans for the future as you continue to expand this?
That's a great question. When you got here, my buddy Andy was in here, and
Sure.
He's working on adjacent woodworks opportunities. He's looking at doing some cutting boards, a lot also from reclaimed stuff, some charcuterie stuff, some custom shelves, some nicer hardwood pieces. And he's a buddy of mine that helped me roll through the holiday push. And now we're going to, use Woodworx and Hustle Wood. And he's going to be working under Ambrosia to find new opportunities.
Okay.
And I think that some of the stuff that he's been working on so far is really, really cool. And it's other pieces of wood that don't necessarily, I typically use a lot of soft woods in a lot of my art pieces. And
Yep.
so I'm left with a lot of these really cool pieces of black walnut or African mahogany, sapele, all these different amazing wood, little bits, and so if he's able to press them and make boards out of them and make a functional art piece, then that's what we're going to do. So there's that. Really, I'm almost at capacity as far as what I can generate currently. My mom comes in typically, especially when it's nice, and paints once a week for me, does a lot of prep painting for me.
Okay.
And occasionally I've got my one buddy, John, that'll come and do some sanding. But I think if I were to want to find new opportunities, then I would definitely need more bodies and probably need a bigger spot. Looking at renting a small spot across the hall from where I am now. There was an Irish dance studio that was there for longer than me, which I told you how, like 6+ years. So that was crazy. So the landlord is breaking that up into 3 spots.
Okay.
So that's also a call for him. Walter's a good dude. Maybe you need one of those spots. Just don't take my small spot in the back. But it's literally across the hall. So that's an expansion. So, maybe get another butt in the kitchen, as they say,
Sure.
and get some more square footage and see what I can do with that,
Yeah, because it is tight in here, but I mean, there's probably enough space for 3, maybe 4 people to
Right.
work at one time
Sure.
and not be in each other's way.
Exactly.
So,
And depending on the what tools we're using, and so that is a little bit of a challenge, but it's been one to work out. I love this space. I love the tall ceilings, especially with the sawdust and whatnot. And as we said, on the beautiful days, all these have wheels, and I'll put my mom out there with headphones and get her to
Go to
paint,
work.
and then we still have room in here. So
yeah, and you got your power cords and everything.
Sure.
You can run them out there, and you're good to go.
And I didn't have an actual full kitchen here until COVID came, and I didn't know how long I was going to be stuck here. I figured if I had to put an address down where the government was going to see if I was staying in place, it was going to be here, not
Exactly.
at my house. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's a gym here too which I was doing that, at the beginning of COVID too. So
You're all set.
yeah, man, other than a shower, this place has everything you need.
I love that. I love that. So tell me, what are some of the most popular pieces that are requested? Obviously, I see you have a lot of I mean, there are, almost an unlimited number of possibilities when it comes to creating artwork around the outline of the image of the state of Arkansas. Sure. But what is the one item that you are asked the most to do?
That's fair. The most popular, probably Arkansas themed pieces are like a little heart over Northwest Arkansas.
Sure.
And in the various sizes. I sell a lot of those for sure. The bicycles have been something over the last year and a half. Like any bicycle.
This is like a biking mecca, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. So any bike piece that's up in Bentonville, or say at Little Craft Show, which is going to be in May. I mean, so yeah, and I'll do Arkansas with it, or just do the frame things. I'm really into the frame pieces now. I know you asked me what people come to me about, and so I'm telling you what I like. But so many of these frames that I get all at Potter House, and I play a game, and don't spend like more than $2 or $3 on them.
Sure.
And I mean, what else is someone going to do with a framed silly dolphin or whatever? So gut the frame and keep it moving. So anything framed really does really well. The framed I Love You hand has been a really popular piece. So it's a tough question. A lot of times it is throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. And that's one thing that I haven't been able to do, not having craft fairs last year. And we talked about it earlier too. Not as many strangers' eyes on the pieces. Really happy to have pieces at holidays at Walton Art Center for Christmas. So shout out to Hannah Withers for making that happen for everybody. And that was a nice taste, but I wasn't there working. So I want to be there in the booth, interact, chopping it up with people.
That's the hardest thing, I think, as an artist. I mean, that has to be the most difficult piece, is not being able to interact with your audience and with the public. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, cause you're building and creating beautiful things. I'm looking at this, like you have, for those of you that are listening to this, there is a mosaic. It's almost like a mosaic tile. It's a puzzle that is encapsulated in a wood frame. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it's all of these, spherical images that it almost looks like a kaleidoscope, if that's the easiest way that I could describe it. But it's simply like, looking at it is just gorgeous. I'm assuming are you gonna shellac the top of it, or is that gonna stay the way it is?
Yeah. I've just painted some of that before you got here. So I'm going to distress the edges and nail it and glue it, and then poly it like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, that's the first puzzle that Kelsey and I did during COVID.
Okay.
So, and I posted one yesterday too. I think it's a great idea. I mean, what are you going to do with the puzzle when it's done? Either you're going to break it up, it's going to take up too much space, or, and like if you saw the tattoo one over there as well, that one will probably go to my house, but really cool American traditional tattoo framed one as well. And then, I mean, that's also recycle, reuse, all that stuff. I mean, why put it back in the box and just let it cover in dust? And who really pulls a puzzle out a second time? Some people.
Yeah, but, some people.
I guess during COVID.
So what would you imagine this being used for?
Just wall art.
Okay, either wall art or, could it be used on a coffee table, a large coffee table?
Absolutely. If you were to epoxy it, and that's what I would do, is epoxy it, and it could definitely be a tabletop.
Well, maybe you'll let me take a picture of that, and we'll post that on the show notes so somebody will see it and maybe get some inspiration.
Absolutely.
And then come down and have you do something for them.
That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So.
Oh, yeah. The second part about, you were talking about having strangers' eyes on the pieces.
Sure.
It's not just like, oh, yeah, I need the ego stroke. But the other part of it is the people that are ordering commission pieces now, more than half of them are people that I met at a show 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not creating those new relationships.
Yeah.
And so that is something that I may not even feel for a year or two. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, everyone always comes back. I know that's hyperbole, but they really do. And so I have all my friends from, even if it's every year, they come and get one different ornament or two, the Woodworx ornament of the year. I love that. Like, right. I love making the little things at the holidays too, that everyone has something they can take away. I would never want you to walk into like my holiday booth and be like, dang, everything's $70 or more, because of what it is. I'm saying I want to have that option. Like, I want a little kid to be like, I would like to buy this ornament for my mom. I like that.
Okay. So, and then, as I'm sitting here and I'm watching you talk about this, and you obviously have a passion for it. Speaking of kids, have you done any like coaching or like teaching of young people when it comes to this woodwork and being able to, because to me, this is an art that could go a long way, right? Because I could see most of what I see on Jake's wall could be on somebody's Pinterest, right? And so there's just a whole movement from a creator's standpoint with regard to that. Are you thinking about in any way, shape, or form kind of training up some younger people or showing them how to take advantage of this and maybe do some of what you're doing? Because we could use more of these, obviously.
I wish I'd known I was going to be interested in woodworking when there was a shop class at my middle school that I didn't even participate
Did
in.
you take shop? Oh, you did take shop. See, I took, we called it, and I'm dating myself now because I'm a little older than you, but we called it industrial arts.
Okay.
And Mr. Kelly was my industrial arts teacher. And all he was thinking about, he just didn't want any of us to lose our hands.
Right.
Sure. Or lose our fingers or whatever. I mean, because that's a real issue. But, and I was in junior high. I was in 7th and 8th grade. I had to take industrial arts both years. And I made stuff. I made a birdhouse.
That's cool.
I had a chance to do everything. I had a chance to use a belt sander, the whole 9 yards. I know what all of those tools are. Do I use them now? No. If I got around them and you put a gun to my head, I probably could figure some things out and do a little bit. But nowadays, these kids don't know anything about it. And I mean, there's something about the tactile nature of creating something with your hand that brings a level of satisfaction that I don't know that it can be replicated playing World of Warcraft or, fill in the blank any game there.
Agree,
so, and that's not a knock on video games. I'm just saying.
Right. It's just not filling the same void in your head or whatever, tactile function. But yeah, that would be something really cool. I've had, 2 or 3 folks come through here as apprentices, but we're not talking about kids. We're talking about like 2021.
Right.
And that's cool too. They want to put in a few hours sanding and then work on some of their projects afterwards. I'm down with that too, But yeah, I think from a practical standpoint, the liability thing would be a big issue with, getting a bunch of kids in here on saws. Obviously, I know that's not what you meant. But the answer is if there was some way to do it in a classroom style setting and teach things, I think that would be really cool. Oh yeah, I forgot that I did this. My friend Andrea is a teacher in Siloam Springs, and so I went and talked to the kids there. But it was more about not monetizing your art, but how to be a business from your art. And so even if it's from that level, that I could encourage kids that, hey, you can make it on your own. You can be your own boss, and if you're truly passionate about something, you should go for it. Even from that level. And then third answer to the question about teaching would be, when I can't do it anymore, I guess I'll have to.
Exactly.
When my hands don't want to go, I guess I'm going to have to show someone else's hands how to.
Right. Or what do they say? Those who can't teach or something like that.
Those who can't anymore.
Right. So, but I mean, I would certainly hope that your ability to do woodwork will last for a very long time. So I'd be curious to know, because you just brought it up, the whole marketing and aspect of as a creator, what has been the biggest challenge for you in terms of getting your work out there? Is I'm assuming all of your stuff is on a website?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, my colleague Andy has just been working on revamping the website. All new pictures of everything on the wall should be represented. So check it out. It's woodworksworkshop.com.
Right.
With an X.
Okay. Yeah. So and that's WOODWORX workshop.com. So yeah, and we'll link to that in the show notes.
The question about marketing and whatnot in Northwest Arkansas and Fayetteville is that it hasn't been / wasn't difficult. I think I was fortunate, 14 and 15 to get into not Little Craft Show, which I do, but I meant to say First Thursdays in Fayetteville. The booths are $15. I mean, I think they're $20, $25. That's nominal either way. But, hey, I've got this thing. I want to show it to people, strangers like we spoke of. And the First Thursday was one of the first things I did. And then you do that for, say, a few weeks, and maybe someone that owns a business gives you their card. And then in between that time, you go to another business. And I've never been told no about having my pieces in a place if they had space on their wall, because typically I work a commission-based thing. So it's not like I'm asking them to purchase things.
Right.
And that's always been a successful recipe. Partnering with other local community businesses and entrepreneurs has been a recipe for success for me.
Okay.
For certain.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. Well, I actually have a couple of ideas, and I'm going to have to explore with you after the podcast episode, because, I created this whole idea of putting on the t-shirts that I have, and actually I'll have one for you, but we give our guests a t-shirt that says get 1% better every day. And I could see that on one of these. Like I've also done it on the outline of the Arkansas state outline. And so I think that would be cool. And then I also really like the logo for I Am Northwest Arkansas. So I could also see that on some of your, on some of your artwork. So
it's one of my favorite things to do is hand cutting the letters and hand cutting, designs. And I've done 36 different business logos. It's a challenge to do something exactly as it is. Yeah. But I like that. I mean, Absolutely. As you can see, I'm working on a 48-inch Arkansas flag right now. Yeah. Which is a big boy. It's been a while since I've made one that large, but
you got all the stars cut out and everything. I mean, it's really, really nice. So
it's going to look really nice in 3D when it's done.
That's cool. I love that. So if people want to reach out to you outside of the website, what's the easiest way for them to contact you?
Sure. You can go to /Woodworx 789, which is the Woodworx Facebook page, and message through there. Or you can,
and you're on Instagram.
Instagram, yeah, at Woodworx_workshop.
Yep.
You can message me through there. You said email already, right?
Yeah. No, we didn't do.
Email is woodworx789@gmail. Are you seeing a trend here?
And it's always Woodworx with an X.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Woodworx.
And then, my phone number is also on my page. So I certainly have return clients text me, hey, I had another idea. And basically, I prefer all of those to talking on the phone because I have a written history of what you want.
Sure.
And that's what we do is we'll go back and forth digitally and figure out exactly what you want, and we'll make it happen.
And if somebody is listening to this, but they may not be in this area, but they're from here and they want to, commission you to do a piece of artwork and they tell you what they want, can you do that? I mean,
Absolutely.
you have done that? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I ship all over the place. I've actually got 30-inch tall Yankees piece. Don't get me in trouble. Shipping to the Bronx or shipping to.
I was going to ask
Manhattan.
you about that because you have a Chicago Cubs sign over here,
Right.
and I think on Instagram I saw a couple of other sports teams represented.
Right.
And I'm assuming that you can do those.
Yeah, you just do one-offs. It's not like you're knocking out thousands of them.
Right.
Or anything
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on that.
Right. Okay. I got you. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. I think that would be good. And I'll be sure to put some of these images on the show notes so that you guys that are listening to this, once you've had a chance to check out the episode, you can go back and say, well, I want to see what this Jake Lewis is all about and check out his work.
One of the, not to wax poetic too long about wood and the medium of wood itself, but one thing is, wood is this, 300-year-old chair, but it's also this purple unicorn that I made, and like one thing that I can do with Woodworx is rep your passion. If your passion is a sports team, if your passion is biking, if it's hiking, if it's yoga, I didn't mention that earlier, but along with the bikes, the yoga pieces do really, really well too.
Yeah.
So helping you rep your passion in the form of art, that's basically what we're trying to do. And in doing that, you're helping me live my passion as well.
Right. It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No one's upset to receive Woodworx.
No, absolutely. Well, Jake, man, I really appreciate you taking time to sit with us today on here on I Am Northwest Arkansas. I do enjoy, I have to be honest, I enjoy everybody that I meet with, but I especially enjoy the artists, if for no other reason, because it kind of brings me back to my childhood and youth growing up with an artist for a dad and knowing the toil and labor and everything that they put into the work that they create. And so I want to commend you for that. You have a beautiful shop here, and I hope that this podcast and everything else that you're doing. Oh, speaking of which, there's 2 events that are coming up. One on May 1st in Texarkana.
Right.
Tell us about that event real quick.
So there's Texarkana Wine Festival May 1st. Then the next weekend is going to be a Little Craft Show here in Springdale.
Sure.
And then the third weekend in May is going to be Arkansas Made, Arkansas Proud, which is all handmade, all Arkansas made on the field at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. We usually only take up about 30 yards. I'm guessing there's going to be no problem with socially distancing of that event. We will be taking up all 100 yards, I'm sure.
Right.
And it'll be little islands that you come and shop by. And the last thing I'd say as far as getting in touch with me, you can always just Google #HustleWood as well. And you'll get all my contact info. I'm sure you can see pretty much all of it. I started using that on Instagram, realized that I was maybe 95% of them, and then made it my LLC.
Okay.
So
Hustlewood is
#HustleWood.
I love that. #HustleWood.
Right.
Okay. So we'll be sure to share that out and make sure everybody starts doing that. And if you do get some of Jake's work, you'll have to share it out and use that hashtag so that people can follow and see what's going on.
Yeah,
so
please.
Jake Lewis, thank you, man. This has been a pleasure. I enjoy this, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you. And as you continue to grow, we wish you nothing but success here at I Am Northwest Arkansas.
Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day.
Absolutely. Well, folks, there you have it. Another episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. It was great to sit down with Jake, such a tremendous individual and an outstanding artist. So I definitely want to encourage you to go check out his website, woodworksworkshop.com. We'll put all the information in the show notes. You can just go to iamnorthwestarkansas.com and look up this particular episode and see, just see what he's all about. And I'm actually going to commission him to do something. He doesn't know it yet. And then I'm going to ask him to do a few other things as well. I have some ideas. So be on the lookout for that, as I will probably announce some very limited edition items that we're going to offer here at I Am Northwest Arkansas for our listening public. So I appreciate you guys so much. As always, you can catch the podcast wherever great podcasts can be found. If you're on an iOS device, we encourage you to use Apple Podcasts. If you're on an Android, check out Spotify or Google Podcast or whatever. You can find us there. And as always, you can go to Alexa and say, hey, Alexa, play the latest episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. and she will oblige. I'm Randy Wilburn, the host for I Am Northwest Arkansas, bringing you the intersection of business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life. Every week we come out on Mondays. So check out the podcast. If you like it, share it with a friend and go from there. And if you really like the podcast, like really, really like it, go on Apple Podcasts and write a review. We would love a review. That helps us with our algorithm. That helps us with our rankings on Apple Podcasts. And actually our rankings are going higher and higher under the travel and leisure section and places. So, if you want to support what we're doing here in Northwest Arkansas, please go on and write a review. Let us know how we're doing. That's it. I'll see you next week. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Check us out each and every week, available anywhere that great podcasts can be found. For show notes or more information on becoming a guest, visit IamNorthwestArkansas.com. We'll see you next week on I Am Northwest Arkansas.